r/AskWomen. Weekly Cycle 9405 says, who is it one stranger you still remember? Forgotten Sub 22 says, the guy who told me he thinks God put me in my life to make me humble woman. For context, he told me this like, as soon as I posted a selfie he told me he wouldn't allow me to feel that good about yourself. In mind, even over 4 years later, I imagine he turned on post notifications of like pretty women to bully them because he's an incel. I ignored and continued to post selfies over a couple days low, and behold, he would message me horrible stuff. I haven't really shared this story out of fear of sounding condescending or something. Jopixie says, pregnant server at a diner was waiting on us. We suggested a name for her baby and she really liked it. Traditional Water 6255 says, the one guy in the elevator at my sub-teaching job who asked me how my day was and then actually listened with intention and responded to what I was saying without talking over me. I, female, was absolutely floored and then realized after how sad that was. He was also around my age and didn't do anything weird/random, like flirt a little or act superior. Just came in, said a quick how is your day going? And we chatted. Parted ways and I never saw him again as I was hopping around at different schools to cover at the time. I never realized how much gender factored into my daily conversations until that moment. Honey_B0707 says, I was 11 years old, living with my addicted/abusive mother in one of our friends' attics in the middle of nowhere somewhere in northern Idaho. It was winter, and only one school bus came out our direction, and I had missed it by sleeping through my alarm. My mom couldn't drive me because she had totaled our car a week earlier, so she made me walk. I don't remember the distance of the walk, just that it was long. I was so cold, and about halfway there a woman pulled over in a newer Subaru and asked me if I was okay. I started crying, just being so overwhelmed with being late, cold and stuck in a bad home life. She offered me a ride to school, and I was hesitant of course, but her eyes were so kind, and she had such gentle energy. She turned on the heated seats, drove slow and talked with me. She said her name was Victoria. I never saw her again, but every once in a while I think of her when the world is cruel. Straw Brime says, the lower half of my spine and hips are damaged/injured for various reasons. My kids were around 6, 8, and 9 years old at the time. I spent most of my time on the couch in terrible pain. One of the few times I ventured to the grocery store, I was really struggling to get my items onto the conveyor. A stranger so kindly asked if they could do it for me. Then, the cashier made sure I didn't put any of my own food in the cart. I cried. Charitrash Panda says, oh man. Summer of 2016 I was working at a head shop when this homeless man came in. Asked me if I could spare a couple dollars so he could take the bus home. I gave it to him because I know what it's like to not have bus money. He called me an angel, and as a way to thank me for not only being kind to him, but also giving him the money, he starts to serenade me with an RB rendition of Heaven Isn't Too Far Away by Wont. Totally made my night. Said his name was Smooth. Saw him a couple more times after that. The last time I saw him, he said he's gotten a place to stay, got a job, and a car, and was on his way back to being able to see his kids. I haven't seen him since and genuinely hope he's still doing well. He seemed like a really good man. Logan 3557 says, the strangers that thankfully were doctors that helped my mom after she had fallen off of a trolley and hit her head on the concrete. r/AskWomen. DenMother8 says, if you're a woman over 50, what's your biggest pain point in your life? What is something you wish was different about your life at this stage? Mouse Direct says, really nothing other than how hard it is to lose weight at this age and keep it off. especially when it's hereditary and you have PCOS. Otherwise things turned out shockingly well for this chubby little extrovert from rural Oklahoma. Oh, and I still live in Oklahoma. That sucks. Denebramage01 says. Knees and lower back, I'm a former gymnast. Lockall0 says. My fitness/mobility took a downturn during the pandemic. I wish I could rewind the clock 2 years and move without stiffness again. Oh, and a cuddle buddy would be nice. Soland says. My lower back. Drunk Enknita says. Literal pain. I sprained my ankle 2 months ago and it's still tender to the point where I can't run. Healing takes longer as you age. To be fair, it was a really bad sprain though. Rajing Happy says. I miss being part of a couple, widowed, //// Kathy 11358 says. Bodily pain, fear of hurting myself physically, have osteoporosis. Teacher Investor says. That I chose the wrong career. r/AskWomen. The Goat 2350 says. What's the profession/career path you wish you pursued? Why? Vibration says. Music. I do visual art, but I find it difficult to express my ideas through that medium the way some artists can. I think if I'd followed music instead I would be able to create art that I actually resonate with. Wixkadwix says. I wish I got into music or writing. Maybe became an English teacher. Truthfully, I still don't know what I want to do, but I wish it was something secure and that I didn't mind. ANLC23 says. Social worker. Working with kids. I feel like could make a difference. The Lion Queen 2020 says. Music. When I was younger, I wanted to be a singer. But I'm not talented in singing lol. Resident_trouble 8966 says. I wish I'd pursued acting. I'm so non-traditional I would have probably been on a million auditions and never gotten anything. Zenfam80 says. Makeup artist. I recently discovered this new passion of mine last year and I love it. I've shared pictures with friends and they've all been impressed how I managed to learn on my own. I wouldn't mind doing this as a side business, and if it grows to the point where I make more money than my current job then I'll do that full time. Overall disaster says. Psychology or social work. I wish I had a career with meaning. West_yellow_6859 says. I wish, and maybe hope to in the future, be a furniture maker. I'd love to restore old/antique pieces and create my own. Maybe in combination with interior design. If I would find a way to make some money out of this, I wouldn't hesitate. Or, and this leans more toward my current job, design and create cards for special personal occasions, births, weddings. I sometimes do it, but there is no money and no career in it. Old_N5150 says. I started college back in 2017 fall, and at that time I decided on computer science, but dropped out after a year. And I do wish instead of dropping out altogether, I switched to infotech or anything close to it, and that is because before I was so anxious all the time about what I should pursue. And I chose CS to prove to myself I could do it as well as it seemed impressive to others. But if I could go back, I would choose, based on my capability at the time and the best option. Based on that however, I know easier said than done. Knowing the amount of anxiety I had, and the lack of coping techniques, I know even if I were to go back, I would do the same thing again, and drown myself in endless anxiety. Right now though I'm back in college as part-time student following this advice. Monsieur Tobin says. A housewife, I'm so tired of working. Lizion Free says. Psychology. I always wanted to be a therapist or work in that field. I still find so much enjoyment in learning about it. r/AskWomen. Bright Sherbet says, women, how do you deal with self-sabotage when you remember your exes who clearly didn't deserve you? I guess we all been there when this realization hits you. Do you have any specific ways you deal with those haunting thoughts? Balhal 918 says, I talk to my best friend about it and we end up laughing together. Seriously. Love, or whatever you wanna call it, makes you blind sometimes. Red Zero Lucian says, take it as a way to learn and grow. We all make mistakes and it's difficult to see. What helped me was keeping a journal, plus therapy. Being able to look back and see the things I was thinking and seeing how I've changed or not has been eye-opening. It allows me to sit and figure out if I'm making the same mistakes. Otherwise it comes down to looking forward at the things ahead and how you're going to grow. Ekigox says, we have the just see yourself from our eyes thing amongst my friends. Helps a lot during spiraling. Hannah Mazin says, it sounds like what you mentioned, hating yourself and overthinking, could be the culprits that cause the first situation. The way we view ourselves, treat ourselves, believe to be true about ourselves, is the foundation of every relationship we encounter or attract. So to release the shame means to learn the lesson. And every experience is serving us in some way. To look at it in any other way is to think negatively, which is another term for thinking in a way that's harmful, or draining or unproductive. I'd begin by asking, what are these painful feelings trying to tell me about myself? How can I grow from this experience? Pastusaname says, realize any minute I spend on it is actually a minute more I spend on it. For what? Time and growing up will do it for you. In the meantime, just don't beat yourself over it that much and try to still work on yourself and your future. Grassalesran says, I'm very close with my best friend and will just ask him, is this big or am I being crazy? He's been with me through a lot of bad relationships and will easily tell me. But there are some concerns that come up and are valid concerns for a relationship. When these come up, I try to sit and think if I can or am willing to talk it through with this person and work on it. If we could talk the issue out and make changes, would I stay? If I say yes, then I do just that. If the answer is no, then I leave. Because there is self-sabotage in leaving a good relationship, but there is also self-sabotage in staying in the wrong relationship. If you're unsure if you would stay or no, err on the side of caution and have the discussion. Discussions are uncomfortable for everyone, but they promote growth and understanding. But if can do one, you can do many. Successful relationships require that open communication and the ability to discuss issues as they arise. Gadjolpmo says, realize that I will be okay. I'm still a good person. Their actions have no bearing on that. Acid Kid says, I beat myself up over it for a long time. Eventually I started talking about it in therapy. I realized that this guy had so many problems of his own and that I was personalizing blame. My therapist asked me if there's any gratitude I could extend out to this person. And at first I was baffled because this guy is opposed through and through. But I realized I'm grateful for that fact that I'm no longer naive and know to grill people about their relationship status before giving any more of my time. That being said, my experience has only worsened my trust issues, but I'm working on them in therapy. I still get mad thinking about this guy from time to time, but I allow it. r/AskWomen. @underscore says, what's a good way to get comfortable being alone? Cease_5683 says, learn new things. It can be intimidating trying in front of an audience. But learning new recipes, trying out an instrument, no one is there to judge but you, and can honestly make things a little more liberating sometimes. Katrina Shadowly says, find new stuff opening in your area, cafes, restaurants, laser tag, whatever, and go by yourself. Thoris_ says, hobbies and responsible indulgence in interests really. It may sound obvious, but doing things you actually enjoy is one of the best ways to get comfortable with being alone. Music is another good source, and there are so many kinds of music to choose from. If I'm alone and doing chores, I keep my phone around with a lo-fi playlist on YouTube humming softly in the background. It's all about mindset in the end, but I found doing things of interest and talking to oneself as the most calming advantages of being alone. No anxiety about embarrassment, no fear of being judged. You can literally do whatever you want and not feel bad about it. Random Idiot 77 says, I'd say hobbies really. I'm an avid photographer. I bake and cook interesting things. I do cross stitch and other similar crafts. These things don't have to cost you a load of money at all, and are also things you can use to make more connections, if you so wish. For instance, I live in a rural area with agricultural shows that often have baking and photo classes, and through entering them, I've made friends with other people from those events. I also like going to the gym on my own, find a good podcast and you're away. If you like a silly laugh, my go-to podcast is Help I Sexted My Boss on Spotify or YouTube. Happiest_orangutan says, I think it takes practice and also some self-reflection. Think about what are the activities that you enjoy, things that you are interested in, what sparks joy. And don't wait for others, do it alone. Last year I decided to go to the cinema alone because nobody wanted to join me for a movie that I was really excited about. It was scary at first and very strange, but I really enjoyed it, and that experience changed something in me. Now I'm trying to have a date with myself at least once every month. Chronically_offline says, put intentional time energy into creating a beautiful and personalized home space. A space that makes you genuinely happy. Paint your walls your favorite color. Put up art. Set boundaries with your coupled friends. Identify any behaviors that make you feel like a third wheel. Talk to them about it. Read. Go to museums. Join a sports league. Learn an instrument. Loneliness is hard to fight. Be honest with yourself. Don't try to make something work if the chemistry isn't there, or if you are not compatible. It will make the loneliness worse. r/AskWomen. IC_painting_3713 says, TW, sap, women have experienced sap, how did you/do you feel okay about sex again? Takathini says, it's very complex and varies from person and other parties involved. I was abused by a family member at a young age. I only dated one guy. I never liked sex despite wanting to. Sex hurt and didn't feel enjoyable. I figured I was broken, or just someone who didn't like sex. Then I figured myself out, and I liked doing things alone, and realized my then partner was terrible and selfish in bed. I talked to him about it, but he didn't care. Again, I felt used. I received one orgasm in the 10 years I was with my ex. I was super high on edibles. I think it helped me just enjoy things and not overthink. I left him after 10 years. I got a rebound almost instantly, and my world opened up. I'm engaged now and had a handful of partners. The majority were great in bed, and it turns out I like sex a lot. So for me, it was who I was having sex with and edibles. I had been in therapy and on medication for years. What really helped me break that mental barrier was edibles and being with a partner, serious or not, who cared about my experience too. I never depended on edibles. I was careful to not utilize it in that way. I also have never had a substance abuse issue. I also don't really partake in THC. I happened to have come home from CA and brought back edibles and figured I'd enjoy them. Still Natascary time says. One time it traumatized me so bad I couldn't have sex for a whole year. The first time after the sab was with someone who I know loved me and who I trusted. I had to feel safe again. No Wasabi 6024 says. I just started being overly active because I never knew I had a problem. Eventually I just stopped and I haven't had sex in a few years, not even with my boyfriend. Nobody 649 says. I became hypersexual in my relationships. I had committed relationships, never cheated or had multiple partners, but was heavily invested in having sex. I was later diagnosed with PTSD and BPD and therapy helped me recover. But back then, doing what happened to me with someone I trusted helped me move past it. Power Foreign 4849 says. I'm still working on this. There's no timeline for healing except for yours. Easy_pen 5217 says. For me, time, therapy and meeting the right person. Wixkadwix says. I had to go to therapy for PTSD and did CPT. Butterfly 1936 says. I remembered that what happened wasn't my fault and not something I should ever be ashamed about it. I became more confident in myself and ended up finding a partner who reminded me of what sex should be. Baton Serethibum says. Smother it and do whatever it takes to get used to enjoying it, aka drinking or smoking weed until I got to a point where I could have sex without it. And some reassuring that it wasn't my fault at the expense that I don't think I could ever trust being alone with an unmedicated schizophrenic person and feel even slightly safe. But there are more important issues I have to address in counseling, lol. Nervous Toe 6779 says. Therapy, accepting it then detaching from it and moving on. Westrade says. It took me a long time and a boyfriend with the patience of a saint. I was lucky I didn't felt shameful for what happened to me, so I didn't have any problems with feeling dirty or feeling resentful of my body. The issue I had with sex is that I was just really afraid of having it again, and a lifetime of physical abuse probably made the whole process even more difficult. It took baby steps. And then you take 10, and then you take 20 back. I felt like I was getting nowhere, and even pleaded with him to leave me for someone else, because I felt like he put in so much effort and patience, and didn't get the trust he was worthy of, but instead was saddled with this skittish thing that would flinch away from even the most gentle touch, and the only bedroom action he got were my night terrors where he was powerless to do anything. Part of me also wanted him to leave me because my life would be so much easier if I was single and didn't have to deal with the hurdles of a relationship. But he didn't leave me, kept being patient and kind and gentle, and while in my mind I already knew I could trust him, eventually the rest of me slowly started to believe it too. Once I reached that point, I felt things got easier. r/AskWomen. Fishalpus1 says. How do you calm yourself down if you are about to fight with your so? Assuming the fight is about your everyday life. Nothing major like abuse or cheating. Honia Hive says. I think of all the pet names I have with them until I can hold a really cute picture of them in my mind. Then I approach the conversation more gently. Steffi Flies says. 5 deep breaths. And use that time to remind yourself that it's you plus partner versus a problem. Then think about what you will say that doesn't resort to yelling and insults. Jalika Joy says. Breath. Consider whether what I'm about to say is worth it be something I will regret or C, something better suited for another time and place. Wixkadwix says. I tell them I need a moment to myself to cool off. Because after a really long stressful day at work, even the simplest things can set someone off. Plastic_breadfruit68 says. Walk away and come back to the issue once you've calmed down. You don't want to hurt your partner, you're just angry at the situation. Rixb709 says, have a timeout for the both of us. I usually say, this is getting heightened. We both need to calm down in order for things to get anywhere. After that, we come together and try to show an immense amount of respect by talking calmly and voicing our perspectives as well as logical reasoning. It helps us both navigate what the issue is and how to resolve it. Rixb709 says, have a timeout for the both of us. I usually say, this is getting heightened. We both need to calm down in order for things to get anywhere. After that, we come together and try to show an immense amount of respect by talking calmly and voicing our perspectives as well as logical reasoning. It helps us both navigate what the issue is. No Filter No Limits says, journal. Typing my feelings into my phone has a remarkable way of calming me down, keeping from saying things I don't mean or haven't thought through, and occasionally helps me see another side before engaging. The best advice I ever got was, would you rather be right or married? Journaling usually helps me decide if this really matters or not. Soft Bunnix says, I go to a local park to listen to music and walk around. It calms me down and gives me time to think. Warriors and Cowboy says, walk away. Heated _ just _ enough says, lay on the floor and have the discussion. It's impossible to be mad. Don't know how it works, but I'm grateful my therapist told me about it. Snookapers5937 says, I always tell myself you don't want to get yourself in trouble. More Life 93 says, I stress/rage clean. I walk away from him and rage clean. You'd be surprised with how much you get done. r/AskWomen. Slyly Q says, what is a movie or TV show that isn't necessarily great, but that you love the aesthetic of? Erich Enrig says, The Expanse. Everything is done in the best we can guess realistic manner. There are even some amusing things added to the show. Like in the future people have these cell phones that can do all these crazy amazing things, yet all the screens are still cracked. Bleeding Heart 1996 says, Vampire Knight. Love the art style so much that I'm inspired by it. But the plot is something else. As Princess Mix says, the movie Comet. Terrible characters but the aesthetics are great. Garmology 9529 says, Secret World of Alex Mack. Overall Disaster says, Phantom of the Opera. Has all the tropes I'm into, but I never was able to get into it for whatever reason. Mouse Direct says, Eyes Wide Shut. The plot is dismal, and Bourne Cruz and Kidman are awkward as hell, but it is a gorgeous film. All that gold and red. I Clean For He Chow says, Call the Midwife. Shun _ the _ skank says, Lost Girl, my dream wardrobe, for sure, but the writing is pretty fanfiction-y lol. Navi Blue says, OMG Bridgerton all the way, the only reason I hate watch the show. Katrina Shadowly says, American Gods. The first season is incredibly gorgeous, but if you haven't read the book enough to follow the thread they were going with, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Stiletha Morning says, The Witcher. Season 2 nearly made me cry with how different they were to the books. Think they ruined Yennefer's character too, but oh the aesthetic was incredible. The visuals of Aretusa. Love. Random Idiot 77 says, Death in Paradise. It's a BBC program set in the Caribbean. Beautiful scenery and a decent plotline. Catathymia says, Silent Hill, as I think they nailed the ambience of Silent Hill and a lot of the movie looked great, but it wasn't a great movie, unfortunately. Banana _ Booth says, The tribe, the later few seasons were so vibrant, community in color, and so intricate with the costumes, hair and makeup. Laris Dylan says. Euphoria, Bridgerton, and Stranger Things. Big Vulva Energy says. Emily in Paris. Around Rainbow Space says. Madman. ALH0425 says. Pretty Little Liars. LMAO. I loved the girls' styles and the whole small affluent town in Pennsylvania vibe. Lots of great film and literary references. But yeah. Absolute trash otherwise. Instant Sympathy says. That 70s show. I mean, it's great to me. It's one of my favorite shows ever. But I can admit that the acting isn't always great and the plot lines are fairly predictable. But I just love it. r/AskWomen. And Nov says. What do you value more in a person, their intention or action? Why? Title. Queen of Meme says. With people I know. Intention. I already know that their actions never are meant to hurt me. We are humans. We are flawed. No one can make things perfect, and those who try are miserable and constantly stressed out. I say don't try to be perfect, be real. Be real with your feelings and needs, and allow yourself to have trials and errors. As long as you try your best and you're honest, and you can be accountable for your actions and choices. In the end, your good intention is what weighs the most. My BF has taught me to not judge until I have the whole context. Wixkadwix says. Actions. Though I do put power into intention, to me actions speak louder than words. I am Thafai says. I don't know intentions. I'm not God. I can only see actions, so be it. The Lion Queen 2020 says. Action. Environmental_bat_1 says. Action. Almost doesn't count. I need follow through. I need to be able to count on you. Candid Complaint 20-67 says. Action 1000% if they're an adult. Unless they thought they were taking the right action and didn't have the right info or resources to take better action. Glutes_and_gains says. Action. You can intend to be a good human, but if you're a shit human acting like a shit human, your intentions mean nothing unless you intentionally change them. Katrina Shadowleaf says. You can lie about intention, but the action speaks for itself. Hot_mention_9337 says. Action. Always. I had been with someone for many years that acted with good intentions. Yet it became a major problem. The intention was to get me something nice as a gift or an apology. The action caused us to go into debt unexpectedly. Multiple times. The intention was to plan a date night like to a restaurant I had been dying to try, or to see a band I liked. The action was he would go out the night before, stay out for 24 hours, and crash when he got home, leaving me literally sitting on the couch dressed up and nowhere to go. Dozens and dozens of times. His intention was to gas up the car after he had been running around with friends all day and night. His action was to come home because he was too tired and would do it later. Leaving me to head into work at 2 AM and stop and get gas in an unsafe neighborhood. I was held up at gunpoint once. The intention was start going to therapy and to better himself. The action was to use his diagnosis as an excuse and a crutch, quit cognitive therapy, and say he's on meds and that's his version of fixing himself. His intention was to leave a career field that was causing him too much stress. The action was enter into a more stressful, but fun and social employment with worse hours, graveyard, part-time, for 1/16 of the pay. The intention was to make a chore board for himself, so he could help more around the house when I started taking double the call shifts to make up for his lack of pay. The action was to ignore it and claim that he would just do things in his own time. If the cat box only gets changed once a week, that's what it is. We'll just order to key it and eat off of paper plates, since the dishes were piled in the sink and grocery shopping was just annoying to him. Or just buy more clothes, since he couldn't remember to help with the laundry more than once every other month. Those were his solutions. The intention was to develop his own interests to help with his depression. The action was to prioritize everyone in his life besides me and our marriage and not see the problem with it. And accuse me of not supporting him. I carried him and his good intentions for a decade and a half. Good intentions with bad outcomes are nothing but dead weight. Partnerships are not based on good. Embarrassed_hippo 395 says. Actions. People can have great intentions and cause great harm. Also, intentions are kinda unmeasurable, while actions, that's undeniable. r/AskWomen. Xada0sx says. What should you really throw away but just can't? Lapindux says. Old ass rat-a-tat things I keep for deep lounging and sleepwear. Also, a couple of 17-year-old Abercrombie t-shirts from work that are nostalgic and in good condition. Liebed20 says. Whenever I buy something online I can't get rid of the boxes, cause they are pretty. Severe Explanation says. My first pair of expensive jeans that totally do not fit now. Strawberry Fair _587 says. My childhood books. They take up space and have no purpose other than nostalgia, but I can't seem to let them go. Green Boots 82 says. It's sitting on my table as I type this. I have an old dress that I got from a hippie girl in 1999 when I took a trip out to the W Coast. It's tiny and old and pretty worn down. I washed it recently and put it in a Ziploc, and I'm not sure what to do with it. It has enough sentimental value that I would feel bad tossing it. White Rabbit 818 says. Headbands, makeup, jewelry and clothes I don't wear. The Lion Queen 2020 says. Clothes. Sorthega Day says. My baby blanket. Original_pace_8334 says. My prom dress I'm not wearing it ever again. Rolling_mochi says. I have a lot of old sneakers I don't use, but every time I try to give them to charity I just can't. Far Calligrapher 465 says. Anxiety. Acid Kid says. Empty candle jars or ones that have wax in them, but you can't burn. No idea why I hoard them, and there's only so many you can repurpose. Violin Out of Tune says. I have a stuffed dog from when I was very little. I can't bring myself to ever get rid of it. Working_Bullfrog 3385 says. A few of my PJ t-shirts. They have holes for days, but I still wear them. Jewel Firafax says. A lot of my toys from my childhood, mainly my LPS collection, Hot Wheels collection, and my stuffed animals, that are my favorite and I have a lot. Highly_uncertain says. We have a Powerade cap that lived on the floor in the corner of our dining room for a year. I finally picked it up a few months ago and now it lives on the kitchen counter. I can't bring myself to throw it out at this point. Resident_trouble 8966 says. Good boxes. Indigo Rose 2022 says. All of the random scraps of ribbon, wrapping paper, tissue paper, bows, etc. that I keep for gift wrapping. They take up so much room and I hardly use them, but what if I need them? r/AskWomen. Beautiful_spring_808 says. What habits do you consider as classy? Expensive Track 4002 says. Holding my pinky out when I sip tea. Melody Cloud says. Proper sleeping schedule. No Hey Disco says. Ignoring / politely shutting down gossip. Tipping well, not dominating conversation. Trying to subtlety include those who may feel left out in a group conversation / activity. Waiting your turn for things. Not raising your voice when upset. Super Sandy 99 says. At this point. Washing your hands. WR0310 says. Punctuality. Emotional Pansy says. Shoes off at the door and place neatly on or in a shoe bench / rack. Actually eating at the dinner table and having said table set for a meal. Cloth napkins, cutlery, a centerpiece, etc. Drinking tea from a china set. Storing alcohol in a crystal decanter. At this point in my life, the simple act of washing your damn hands before eating is classy in my book. I don't witness it often, so when I do I'm like angelic choir singy eyeing ocular glasses / spectacles put in their case when not in use and not just tossed on a table or counter. And having a potpourri jar and keeping it fresh. Funambitions 823 says. Not swearing. IDKY, but I find swearing just such poor taste. Witchbrew7 says. Behave in a way that makes those who enter your circle comfortable. Efficient Push 865 says. Not talking bad about anyone. 2025 Century says. Drinking tea with my pinky finger up in the air. White Rabbit 818 says. Offering water to a guest either in your home or office. Taking your shoes off at home. A tasteful properly sized chandelier. A sculpture made of chocolate covered strawberries. B0x8 says. Thoughtfulness sending cards, letters, or small handmade gifts to friends on special occasions. Remembering your friends' important events and taking the time to let others know you're thinking of them. Lester_Lies says. Dressing more thoughtfully and reading. Ikndabkr says. Wearing modest clothing. Loud Fortune 5734 says. Being polite. Old_N5150 says. Whenever I think of something close to that, it's someone who has a morning routine of waking up, quick shower and brushing etc. and then dressing up for the day, even as simple as just loungewear and brushing their hair etc. Also having a tidying routine maybe every evening, or putting things back in place after coming home, or end of whatever, office / errand, etc. One of my friends do this. She loves her space clean in general, but yes, I noticed this quick tidy routine had stuck out to me whenever I have seen others do it. r/AskWomen. Confident_werewolf 93 says. Why keep someone's shirt or hoodie? Little Magician 3146 says. I'm cold man, leave me alone lol. Stressed Croissant says. I like the smell and also how big it is. It's always cozy and he's got softer shirts a lot of the time. And he'll warm up his hoodies by wearing them so I can be warm. Cookie Potato 3761 says. Satanic ritual. Riech 2006 says. Because I like wearing clothes that aren't mine, I always ask to wear my best friend's clothes because he has better taste than me and he always lets me wear his stuff, and obviously vice versa. Alicia Chi says. That's just mine now. Criticism No 5920 says. Having something I knew they wore, if they meant something to me, makes me sentimental and lets me be near them when I can't. Jenlin 1124 says. A hoodie. Fun_honeydew 129 says. Because it smells like him, reminds you of them until you use it to clean your snotty nose after breakup. Carp8612 says. Send comfort. Also, if it was given to me, it belongs to me now. I don't make the rules. Poster Arachnid says. It smells like the person you took it from. It feels like they are constantly hugging you warmly, and they are extremely comfortable. Embarrassed _ hippo 395 says. I always tended to give everything back, just because by the end of my previous relationships I was so sick of them, I couldn't stand to have any of it. I'd imagine though it's holding on to good times kinda thing. Rolling _ mochi says. Because it makes you feel good remembering that person. And if it smells like that person it is even more cozy. Ikndabkr says. To wear something I know he has worn many times and smells like him. I haven't worn a man's hoodie in a while. Lenfetch1 Northeast says. Not a girl but girls, when you give back clothing you've borrowed, keep doing that thing, where you douse it with your perfume. I promise he'll fold FR. Pink Lollipop 13 says. Because it's a free shirt or hoodie. Kaspertha Cold _ says. The smell and the fact that it's so big on me. Top Belt 6934 says. Because it looks cute on me and is comfy lol. Glutes _ gains says. They're way comfier when they're someone else's. You will be okay says. When in the relationship, because it's nice to have something of theirs that smells of them and is a physical reminder of them. It makes me feel closer to them. After the relationship ends, I didn't have it at the breakup, and I'm not putting time and effort into getting it back to them. Arrange to pick it up, or send me money to ship it, if it's that important. I also assume anything of mine left with them is a loss, unless I'm willing to put in the effort to get it back, and I'll bring whatever is theirs with me to return at that time. r/AskWomen. Skywalkerbeth says. How has your circle of friends changed since 2020? The Lion Queen 2020 says. They're all almost gone. I was the victim of a smear campaign by an envious ex-friend and most of the folks I used to hang out with went with her because they depend on her for certain opportunities. She got envious because I had a lot of professional opportunities during the pandemic. Carp8612 says. Broken friend groups less friends overall, but they are quality friends. Realize the difference between acquaintances friends. Ans_89 says. I don't have any. So the circle is non-existent. Feet 4i Alpha Me says. There's no longer enough friends to make a circle. Freedom Eyes says. Circle of friends is something I've never really had. One of the many joys of being a tomboy in the deep south. The part where they want ultra girly girls or country girls. Think camo dresses / girly clothes. Obsessed with hunting culture despite the fact they nor their family have never hunted a day in their life. And the ultra fake southern accent. As a person who hated macute / dresses / anything remotely girly, I was seen as a weirdo / outcast. So I really didn't have any friends growing up. The only real person I had that could be close enough to be considered a friend was someone I used to play video games online with way back when. The friend circle I did have, comprised of only cowhawkers, kind of just vanished as soon as we all got sent to WFH duty during the height of the 2020 drama. So now I'm back to just working all mild a week and wondering why I even have a phone in the first place. It doesn't really bother me anyway, I've grown up without it, so I've learned to adapt to it. Indigo Rose 2022 says. I've not exactly lost friends, but I've definitely been seeing a lot less of a few friends who turned out to be anti-vax conspiracy theorists. Some eventually caught a terrible case of COVID and changed their views a bit, some caught it and still hold on to the conspiracies. Joe Imami 2015 says. I literally only have one friend, and we met on Reddit about 2 years ago lol. Free Range Bean says. Same people different year. I feel like the older I get, close to 30, the less change in my circle of friends happens. Acid Kidx says. Lost many friends at work either from having a fight or just them leaving. Reminded me that your coworkers aren't really your friends. As for my actual friends, same two best friends, but we don't get to see each other a ton, which blows. They're in relationships and focused on that ATM, which kinda makes me feel bad from time to time. One of them is talking about getting married, which only makes me more anxious because we'd see each other even less. I need more friends. Vicky Wastaken _ says, I haven't had any friend circles since 2018. I only really have friends online but rarely IRL. I moved out of my hometown at 17 and moved to a new area and I barely have any friends. I'm almost 35 now. Plus, since having kids, life has pretty much paused. My youngest has ASD and scheduling things are tough, but I wouldn't change it for the world. r/AskWomen. Not really interested 97 says, what do you do to guys who just won't stop pursuing you? These guys just don't get it. They think you're giving them challenge, so they pursue you even more when clearly you're just not interested. Himia Jasama says, I just tell them straight up I'm not into you. Arctic_Empyrean says, tell them really harshly to stop and that if they continue I'll call the police and press charges for harassment. Color Green Bean says, I had a classmate who was absolutely harassing me. Sent me nudes all the time. Pinned me against a brick wall one time and grossly breathed into my face that I didn't know what I wanted. I went to a police officer friend who called the guy and said, this is Officer Smith. Miss Jones feels very uncomfortable about your advances and wants all communication to stop, or else she will be pressing harassment charges. He tripped over himself apologizing, and the next time he saw me on campus, he ran in the other direction. Third-party intervention is incredibly effective. Pastor 95 says, tell them you're a man. Themakupvich says, had one on Instagram recently. Crazy thing is I have posted multiple photos of my husband and he'd me for a date. I didn't even respond, ignored his message and just blocked him. Temporary Command 12 says, unfortunately, insult them if it's safe to do so. Embarrassed_hippo 395 says, I'm reminded of that person on TikTok who is the villain life coach. I think their name is Kitty on TikTok. It would probably depend on the type of person who won't stop pursuing which strategy I'd take. Trying to be grosser perhaps in behavior. Setting boundaries is a good step. Informing others of your discomfort. Your friends. Their friends. Coworkers of yours, if it is at work. Etc. The more eyes on the situation, the better the very clear text message to stop contacting you. Establishing clear written communication, that is to say you aren't interested. If further contact is taken on their part, warning texts to say this is harassment. That way if you needed to get law enforcement involved it will be quite clear the issue and not a they said I said situation. Hope this helps. Crab_Graham says, I'm currently ignoring a man who's been lightly stalking me since we broke up in high school 20 years ago. The last time I saw him back then he was trying to break into my house. Just last week he tried to send me a message on FB. I don't post pics of my house or neighborhood, I don't attend high school reunions, and I look over my shoulder a lot and carry a knife. You can't be nice to these guys. You can't let them down easy. It's not that they didn't get the hint, it's that they're too crazy/evil to care. If you have to see this guy in person, please watch your back and grey rock them. If online, watch what you post about yourself, block/ignore them, and still watch your back. r/AskWomen. Just a Livumsum says, when did you realize you became a creep for someone? Foghorn Leg Day says, In HS, my sister once stalked a guy's Facebook until she found his YouTube account linked way at the bottom. Then she called him, 67, to hide her number and played his own YouTube video back to him. It was a very funny joke, but also terrifying probably. The real Taylor says, "This is really long. Sorry, I had a huge crush on this guy in high school, and he said he had a crush on me too. He kept giving me mixed signals and was leading me on. We were really good friends, or so I thought, and would hang out all of the time at school. I kept trying to set up a date, or just set up a day, to hang out outside of school, but he kept putting it off and claimed he was busy. I began stalking his Steam account. And there was this website that would show you someone's Steam activity in detail. I don't remember how I found his username, but I did. I would check his Steam activity on this website at least once a day, if not more. This obsession grew into Facebook and internet stalking using his name. Stalking his family members' Facebook profiles and his friends' profiles. I chose the college I wanted to attend and did graduate from, based on his college of choice. It was creepy. Anyways, one time he was once again claiming he was busy. I took a screenshot of his Steam account activity that showed he was online and sent it to him, just to check him on his bullshit. And he freaked out, of course, witches, when I realized that I was being obsessive and creepy. It was at this point that I finally snapped out of it and realized my behavior was not normal. I wish I had the self-esteem to realize he was never actually interested in me for whatever reason and just did not want to tell me, but back then I was too immature and insecure to realize it. I got better in college, where I never spoke to him again despite him trying to reach out. I outgrew my obsession and grew into myself, I guess. Black_Seagull says, "You should read about intermittent reinforcement. Unintentional in this case, but very dangerously addictive." Happy_Lil_Bean says, "Messaged a guy I liked on dating app 1. Never matched. A week later, messaged him on dating app 2, honestly not realizing I had already texted this same guy earlier on app 1. Got rejected again. Decided to delete my account on dating app 2. Wasn't sure if my profile was actually deleted or just disabled, so I went back to the app and went on following their instructions. Realized halfway that I was accidentally setting up a new account again because I was brought to the main screen with profiles to swipe on. I see the same guy's profile and I panic. I frantically begin to tap buttons to get myself to the settings so I can delete my account. Accidentally tapped on the heart button and my mind went NOOO. Basically the guy got a third like from me again after he already rejected me twice. And this time he got it from a new account that just had one photo of me, my name, my age and the rest of the profile empty, making it appear as though I made multiple accounts just to like him. I don't know if he was online on the app / checked his notifications during the time frame in which he got my accidental third like. Anyway, I deleted my account for good eventually, as I originally intended to. Yeah, I think he must think I'm a creep. r/AskWomen. Vivsmp says, "What don't you freak with?" Spiritual_hat9033 says, "Urinary tract infection. I have been hospitalized twice because of it." Little_patience says, "Married women, even if she's stuck in a miserable loveless marriage, don't care." Monsieur Tobin says, "Anything that ruins my peace or makes my life more difficult / uncomfy. Don't need that energy." Dr. Hoy's Overrated says, "Wu-Tang Clan." Warm Distant Sun says, "Hard drugs, off-leash dogs, fanservice anims, Game of Thrones, hustling / gelbissing / the grind, Ouija boards." Needs_more_mustard says, "Beetroot juice, of all things. I didn't realize that it lowered your blood pressure and could make you nauseous. I drank too much once and thought I was going to pass out. This story of my life 95 says. Bullshit. H8 me like you me in it says. Cowards. Alyssa Maritimum says. Drunk annoying people. Went out for New Year's Eve with my partner, his friend and his friend's girlfriend. Girlfriend drank an unknown amount of drinks before dinner and then downed 2 dirty martinis at the restaurant before our food even came. Waiter cut her off and then the girlfriend got hysterical, was slurring her words, started crying and made a scene. This was a nice restaurant and it was so embarrassing. They left and my partner and I just sat there bewildered. It definitely ruined our night and I don't want to go out with them again. Handle your liquor, don't drink to excess, or don't drink at all. Manikit says. Drugs. I know I'll get addicted and I have enough problems. Shockhead Pikachu 123 says. Someone who makes backhanded comments. I see you. I know what you're doing and I'm not dumb. M0 Ira Rose says. The backstabbing assholes at my workplace. They will congratulate you on your promotion, smile in your face, and then talk shit behind you back. And shockingly it's a lot of the men doing it. It's the craziest thing. I had one come up to me and say the promotion was well deserved, but I know for a fact he texted another coworker he didn't know how/why I got promoted so quickly. It's honestly souring my promotion and pissing me off. Blue Nautilus 2 says. Plumbing, don't try, call a plumber. Rubnkj66 says. Racists, sexists, homophobes, people that think they can do whatever they want to whoever they want with absolutely no consequences. iFine says. Drugs. That's all for this video. Was it good? I know not, for I'm a robot. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. This video is the product of an automated process.